Welcome to Wicked Wellness. Today we have another amazing episode. I'm very excited to get into it, so let's go. So today I was meditating right before this. I know we have a few other episodes that I said we're supposed to come up. Tarot cards, increasing intuition, utilizing them to increase the intuition, unresolved emotions as toxicity, the ABCs of spirituality, and then I did this meditation right before this, and that's what spoke to me. That's what's closest to my heart right now, so that's what I have to speak about. So I wanted to also bring back somewhat of a segment that I received good feedback on, but I just didn't, I don't know. I didn't know how to incorporate it. So I said, let's do it today. And that was the Intelligent Intimacy podcast where I was utilizing the AI to ask the questions. So I asked the AI about forgiving ourselves so that I could see what it would say versus me getting on here and then streamlining consciousness. I wanted to see, we've been talking about discernment as well. What if they gave me answers that I did not agree with? And I wanted to see how that would all formulate into this episode. So, but I will say that they said everything that I felt. So I was like, wow, okay, we're just gonna have to expand on it. And I'm just excited to do this one. It's gonna be a little fun. So, the first question: what are very interesting lessons or aspects about forgiving yourselves that people aren't the most keen on? One aspect that people may overlook is understanding that forgiving oneself is a process, not an event. Explosive. Out the gate, they came in with the heavy hitter. That is something that's number one. That is, and I'm glad that it gave that. That is the best answer, in my opinion, that it could have gave. Because I think so many times we always think, again, from point A to point B, we're trying to act as if the journey is about reaching the end of the destination. But when we look at it like that and we see, wait, it's a process. I just talked about this yesterday in the last episode. When we talk about it being a process, we really feel, or more than anything, we can understand that it's something that is going to be extended and that it is something more than just getting to the end of it. That's not the point of a journey. And so it takes some time. Again, we need to meditate on all these things. When you can really meditate on that, then understanding that it is forgiving oneself. We're not talking about forgiving nobody else. We're talking about forgiving yourself. And still, the other is a process as well, but understanding that it's a ongoing cycle so that we can actually release out of it at some point, and not just all right, today I forgive myself and I just said it, or I did this ceremony, and thinking that because I did that ceremony that I was going to 1,000% unleash, if I did release any of it and forgive myself partially. This is still something that we have to keep doing, because if you've learned how to forgive yourself and you've done it before, you're like, great. But again, it's something that you have to keep chiseling away at. And then at some point, like I talked about in the episode yesterday, when I asked myself, how did I get here? It wasn't yesterday, it wasn't the whole last week, it wasn't the whole last month. And if it was a 5-year situation, it wasn't the whole 5 years. Like I said, it was the duration, it was the journey itself, it was all of these aspects being put together. And so that is a great response. I love it. They came out the gate going hard. It's not just about saying sorry to oneself. Oh man, okay, ChatGPT is going crazy. It is not, again, like I said, whatever you did for your ceremony, or if you did like Michael Scott when he thought you could declare bankruptcy by just yelling out bankruptcy, and you doing the same, like, I'm sorry, like, it's not how it goes, and it's not going to. That may help you a little bit trigger in and find a way to sort of put yourself under that, in a way, in a trance or meditative state, so you can start to actually be reflective and not judgmental, so that the process can start to unfold. But short of that, yelling out bankruptcy, or shouting out, I'm just sorry, or trying to do that in my mind, I'm sorry, it's not going to work like that. We need to, as Einstein said, we need to rise above the level of consciousness that the issue or the problem is at, that we are looking to supersede or triumph over. It involves introspection, acceptance of mistakes, and actively working towards self-improvement. That's why I wanted to test out what the AI had to say, because this was all that I felt in the meditation, and it's good when we talk about discernment. You may feel these things in meditation, but you may not know how to articulate them in words and even know that that vibration was that exactly until it is, let's say, like going through a ChatGPT or going through a horoscope type of thing. And so like when we talk about the pattern, that was the episode I did yesterday. Been making content crazy, so I can't remember, but like the pattern yesterday, you could be experiencing, and like I mentioned yesterday, you could be experiencing a universal cycle and thinking it's a personal cycle, and or vice versa. And when that happens, that's why we say you have to meditate and you have to become more aware, because the more aware you become, the more you'll be able to discern. And that's why I actually wanted to, this episode, although it's about forgiving oneself, it's also about discernment as well, so that we can start to discern and identify the issues that we have and start to work with strategies to actually figure that out in a sense. But this one is just focused on forgiving ourselves. It involves introspection, acceptance of mistakes. We talked about both of those things, but that acceptance of mistakes. I did it. I made the mistake. It wasn't the best me. It wasn't the best I could do. It wasn't probably the best that I should have did or the best choice that I should have made. But learning from that mistake is where we capitalize, and actually accepting it for what it is, outside of just saying, oh, anything past that. I made the mistake. I'm human. And so I still need to love myself, because that's what compassion really is about, and self-compassion. And actively working towards self-improvement. If we can do those two things, we're actively already working towards self-improvement. So they went crazy. And we're just on the first part of the response. Additionally, some may struggle with the idea that forgiving oneself doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the actions. They just went harder. Like I gave one way of saying it shouldn't extend past, for us to need to forgive. But they took it the other way, which we definitely need. And we saw that in the episode yesterday with the pattern. But rather acknowledging them and moving forward with self-compassion and growth. Again, I did them. It ain't like, oh, no, I didn't do them and we going through denial. It's like, I did them. Wasn't my best self. It wasn't, however you cope with that and you understand like, it was the lesser me. I could have shown up different and better. And then you say, okay, cool. How can I do that? And now let me start doing that. That's what we're talking about. And that's, again, we know powerful has been my word lately. That's so powerful. But rather than acknowledging them and moving forward with self-compassion and growth. We talked about evolution and how important that is. And yesterday, we're talking about 𝗧𝗵𝗲 when they said growth is purity. Oh my God. Come on now. I actually experienced this, and that's what we're talking about. Meditating on those things are beautiful, and that's sort of what was happening. And I'm excited to get into the ABCs of spirituality, because the first one, abundance, when I got into it today, I got this idea for it, and I asked myself, what does abundance look like? And I started visualizing what I would say to you guys, and it was just like flowers inside blooming. Like, you understand you're the lotus, and it doesn't just feel like one, it just feels like an infinite bouquet of flowers bursting. And to imagine and envision that is just so beautiful. And that's what growth is to me, just that infinite bursting at the seams where life is just, you can feel that, and you're a part of it, and you understand that you're an active part of that process, deciding to be. That's just something that will humble you. That will humble you. So I'm excited to get into that episode. But here we are, forgiving ourselves. So that's, again, what was closest to my heart. And it was just, when I thought about interacting with it this way, it seemed like the best way and the most fun. I got a lot of great responses from me doing the AI work. I actually experienced this in meditation as an insight. Any tips on how to channel this more often and what to do with it? That's a profound insight. This is ChatGPT. That's a profound insight from your meditation practice. To channel it more often, you can incorporate regular self-reflection and mindfulness exercises into your daily routine. I love that. I've been developing a class / somewhat of a course, and working on, don't even want to say, but developing a course that utilizes those two, regular self-reflection and mindfulness, really one and the same. Self-reflecting and being mindful is very on that same alignment, if not, a synonym. But self-reflecting, being mindful, not always having to be self-reflective, but really it is in a sense. And so that's funny, but focusing and utilizing that to center ourselves, and then allowing us to have movement in any direction. Understanding that we are, that's that A in the ABCs of spirituality or spiritual success or success period in life. And so, which is, we talk about spirituality as equals life when we talk about it here. So as success, but that abundance, the awareness granting us the abundance to understand that we are abundance, again, that singular unit, and now we have an expansion of what it means to be conscious, and we have a access to the whole as opposed to a limited capability of accessing that. And so now we go, okay, I thought I could only move left, or I thought I could only move left, right. Now I know I can move forward, backwards. I can move where in any direction that I decide to. And that's what using that self-reflection and mindfulness in a daily routine. And so in my program is going to be journaling to increase that self-reflection and mindfulness, and understanding how you feel at that moment. What does it take to somewhat trigger that? What does trigger that? Identifying that. And so again, so we can start working to build. And again, I'm excited for a lot of things. So set aside dedicated time for introspection, journaling, or meditation to explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment. When you encounter moments of self-forgiveness, cultivate gratitude for the opportunity to learn and grow from your experiences. This is exactly what I had happen. And the moment that you have it, it's funny that it even says this, it's the perfect response, because having that experience, all that you can do is say, I'm grateful. It's just like when we talked about tzedakah, and once you're full of it, you just say, all I can do is give. I'm full of love, so I have nowhere else. I'm spewing at the fountain here. I just need to give some, and it's not even some. It's just like I just gotta keep giving because I'm overflowing, and it's because of that giving. It's that process that we talked about, compensation, that balancing, that justice that goes. It's the way that it goes. You have so much to give, and that's why those can those can receive those blessings. Do not run out and just stay replenished, because we're really moving in tune with the flow of the universe, or a flow of the Great Spirit, the Holy Spirit, with Source, God, life itself, whatever we want to call it. But the Creator is definitely doing this work, and we definitely have opened ourselves as a conduit to say, I am a world server, and I am going to do what I have been granted the ability to do, what I have chosen to do, what I will myself to do with my best goodwill, and what I know that I am meant to do. That is a strong way, and that's why I love that. Use this insight as motivation to continue nurturing self-compassion and resilience in your journey towards personal growth. That resilience and self-compassion, those both, like self-compassion may always seem soft and resilience be seen as strong and more rigid, but honestly, they both carry both of those tones. And when you look at it like that, then you get to see like, oh, these are two of the same like things on a different side of the coin. And so self-compassion giving you the ability to say, again, I'm human, and I need to know how to nurture myself as opposed to just running myself in the ground. And resilience saying, no matter what happens, no matter if I have been ran into the ground or I'm just perfectly nurtured and I'm in my blooming state, I am going to make sure that I see it through, and I'm going to make sure that the commitment is seen through in your journey towards personal growth. And that's the only way to really get through it. That's the only way to get through. I was going to say positively, but that's the only way to get through it, period. What may be 3 more aspects that we tend to overlook as humans in the importance of forgiving ourselves in relation to our personal growth and evolution as a unitary consciousness? 3 aspects of forgiving ourselves that are often overlooked in relation to personal growth and evolution include, y'all know they're about to go crazy. Number 1, embracing imperfection. I've been talking about, that's why I love this universe. We call it's, it's the, wow, why am I'm having the blank. But when we send out that call, then we will be answered. And that's what we have to realize and understand, that that's always happening. That's why we attract the things that we do. And so I've been talking about being perfectly imperfect and being perfectly flawed and understanding what that really means. And when you do see, you just like, oh my God, so what's for me is what's for me. That's what it means to be unique, and you get to embrace your uniqueness. Then you start moving with that integrity. And then it's known that you're authentic, not just to people, but to you, and for the universe. And it's like, okay, that's that center of energy that does da 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 da, and it just does it so well. Like, that's the sun. It just shines bright all the time. Like, that's the moon. It's very lit, and it controls the tides. Like, those are the trees. You're known for what you're known for because you have decided to now step into your authenticity, claim it, and say, this is my purpose. I will now walk within that, and nothing can sway me from it. So let's actually get into the first one. Embracing imperfection. Recognizing that making mistakes and facing challenges is an inherent part of being human. Just like we talked about yesterday in the pattern, like, are we gonna keep denying what makes us human? Whether it's because of social conditioning or whatever the reason, are we gonna keep denying what makes us weird or different or unique, and which is that thing that gives us the power to possess the tap in or the key to ourselves and say, now I am unlocked? Are we going to keep saying, oh my God, I'm just such a bad person because I keep making mistakes, which is a part of the human experience? Or are we just gonna say, we have compassion for self, and start moving in a much more empowered way and stop utilizing our word for disenchanting ourselves? So recognizing that making mistakes and facing challenges is an inherent part of being human. By forgiving ourselves, we acknowledge our imperfections and allow ourselves the space to learn and grow from them. I like that and can keep going even further, but all they just said is that we get purified through our mistakes. So maybe we just need to keep making some mistakes and start to actually learn from them, so we stop making those same ones, and then we can get some better mistakes. Cultivating self-compassion. Understanding that self-forgiveness is an act of self-compassion. As soon as I read that, it's almost like duh, but the simplest most things are the most powerful things. And so to really understand and have self-forgiveness and say, like, in that meditation, I said, oh my God, I just had to forgive myself. And I said it, but then I felt it, so I had to hug myself, and I said, I really feel you. Like, I forgive you. You holding too much stress in your brain about this or that, or in your body about this or that. And really, you either have to address it like right now, or you gotta let it go and put it somewhere so that you can start to manage it in a way that we can feel better and attack it better and just be in a better position. And then it was just like, you're right, me. I wasn't holding you down in the way that I needed to, or I wasn't eating in the way that I needed to. I wasn't exactly, again, holding you down in the way that I needed to. So now let me make sure that I start to do that. And that is the actual apology. It is the walking within the right path after seeing that we have strayed. That's where we have the possibility of redemption. Just as we would offer forgiveness and understanding to others, we must extend the same kindness and empathy to ourselves. It's so easy to say, but then a lot of times we may see and know people who are literally nice to everybody and just so kind and going out their way, but then just are sort of sucky to them, or not sort of. They're the person that gets the sucky treatment because they have, a lot of time it does have a people-pleasing kind of root, and so, which they're going to talk about later, but has a lacking of self-esteem within the self, which again I mentioned yesterday in the pattern, but my aunt, she sent us something in the group chat talking about the links between depression and the link the links between depression and a lack of self-esteem, our ability to believe that we can achieve tasks, and a couple of other things. But that's just so powerful again, because if we start to learn self-compassion, we can start to say, I make mistakes, and not just shunning ourselves 24/7 for that. And then, through those mistakes, we can start to succeed through failure. We can effectively say, okay, now I can map out this doesn't work. And like, now you can keep testing the things as long as you do have that goal and you know. And so that's very powerful, and it starts at cultivating that self-compassion, and not just for others and saying, well, I'm so nice to everybody, but what about myself? We got to be nice to ourselves first, so we can actually start to understand what that means, and stop just being what we think is nice to others, and start really truly tapping into, again, what these words mean, compassion, and exercising them, so that we can have a better understanding, no matter how well of an understanding we have. And I'm not trying to act like I have the best understanding of it. I probably suck at compassion, like on on certain levels, and whether it's to others, and it's also situational. So I can have compassion. I do believe that I am compassionate, but I said that to say the truth is we all have these characteristics and qualities that may be great in this area, but once they are tested in different ways, then we start to learn the full scope of what it means to be that thing. And so I know I am a child in the grand scope of all of this. I am not even like 1 year old in this thing. When I talk about my human form, not even one in comparison to anything almost that's on this planet, actually, like even building. So it is, to me, more wise for me to realize the current capacities that I have, so that I understand the ways that I could possibly transcend them. This fosters resilience and a sense of inner peace. Number 3, breaking free from self-limiting beliefs. Often, unforgiveness towards ourselves is rooted in deep-seated beliefs about our worthiness or capabilities. And I just mentioned how my aunt psychologist sent that text in our group about the links between depression and these negative states like hyperanxiety, things like that. And with, again, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-worthiness, lack of the ability to see ourselves, as Les Brown said, to seeing ourselves in a limited light, and not being able to see all the possibilities and capabilities for ourselves. So we don't even strive for these things because they don't seem possible. Those channels, as I always say, and I've seen in meditations, like those channels are just literally blocked off. You can't even go down those tunnels because you don't think they exist. And so it's not until we actually, again, open up our mind and sort of tap in. I was gonna say unplug, but tap into the consciousness of the universe and say, wow, actually all of these possibilities are open. I just have to see how I fit within that, and I can make that work and possible for self. And once that happens, then the doors and the floodgates are it's open. By forgiving ourselves, we challenge these negative beliefs and create space for new possibilities and self-discovery, empowering us to reach our self-potential, or our full potential. And so, as I just said, the floodgates are open, our eye is open, and we say, wow, I never thought I could write before. I never thought that I could, and it could be anything. I never thought I could sew before. I never thought I could play a sport. I never thought I could speak to someone. I never thought that I could be a counselor. I never thought that I could do all these things. But it's funny because that is more of a fear. That is the one side of it, and the doubts they just love that because it says, yeah, you're right. But on the other side that says you're right, and we actually know about you, we know about the real you, it says you can do it. I just had it pop into my mind today. I said, God just been showing me a couple things lately. I done seen some signs, and I was like, man, he just showing me that it's a possibility. And as soon as I said that, I said, wow. And I heard Les Brown pop into my head and said, it's possible. That's all you need to say, is possible. So your mind start going, hold on, what is possible? Because before it didn't seem possible. But you plant that seed in there, you start to believe that, and then again, some of those paths start opening up. You start going, hold on, let me go check out that. Okay, that cut out, maybe then that didn't follow through. But you keep doing that, and you turning those stones, I promise it's going some stuff gonna pop up. And now I have this idea in my head of seeing something so big and grand that I've desired, but was sort of playing it down. And now I've been getting some signs that it's like it's ramping up. I'm like, okay, I see it. So we gonna act accordingly, and that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna act accordingly and act as if. And then once we get to a point where I can say, okay, that thing I was talking to y'all about, it's happened. Now let's talk about it and unpack it. Then y'all gonna know. So I really hope y'all enjoyed this episode. It was very fun. Forgiving yourself is very essential. I wanted to talk about it because I've talked about forgiveness, and people love to, and it's a hot topic as well right now, where people talk about forgiveness and saying, focusing on that aspect of it's not for the other person, it's for you, which is awesome and it's beautiful. And that's the aspect of self-forgiveness that people are actually sitting on, but that doesn't really get dove into outside of the it's not for another person part, And so I wanted to just remove that completely. This has nothing to do about nobody else. This has forgiveness. This is the real root of it. So even when this is what people are really talking about, even when they talk about that aspect with somebody else, it's what we choose to allow into our boat, again, that begins to sink us, and we start to say, oh, I let that in again because of that personal poison, that toxin. So like I said, we're going to get into those episodes about the unresolved emotions as toxicity, the ABCs of spirituality, and utilizing tarot cards to increase our intuition. So I hope you guys love this episode on forgiving yourself. This is Waking Wellness, Health is Wealth. I love you guys.